Yo, what's up drifters? Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my Nissan 350Z or Piranha X CDS 100 adhesion tune. Yes, 100. Since CDS is around the corner, I thought of helping some people out with tips on how to be faster on the track while still holding pretty decent angle. CDS is really not about being smooth and holding as much angle as you can, not like 90 adhesion. It's really about being as fast as possible. So let's get right into it. Getting into it, body kits, we are using the CBW body kit with some enormous wing. We've got the ultimate mod. Now let's get into the dyno stand. Okay, let's get into the depth of it. Starting off with the suspension. We have a spring length of 16 centimeters, so we can get longer travel to take advantage of extra grip. We have a front spring stiffness of 90 and a rear spring stiffness of 70. Notice how both of them are less than 100. Any values above 100 hinders the suspension travel. Okay, now we have damper bump and damper rebound settings. Damper bump essentially is the compression of the spring as in wheel moving up relative to the body. So for example, when a car hits a bump. And damper rebound is the extension of the spring back to the original spring length. The rebound stiffness needs to be set at a higher value than the bump setting as the stored energy is being released. We also have greater rebound stiffness so that the car will never bottom out on the shock. This is for a typical normal car, but since we are using a drift car and want to take advantage of extra grip, we have it reversed. Thus, we have a greater fast bump than a fast rebound. Our fast damper bump values are 5,900 and the rear 5,120, and the dampener fast rebound is 4,910 and the rear dampener fast rebound at 4,140, front dampener bump at 3,950, rear dampener bump at 2,190, front dampener rebound at 4,880 and rear dampener rebound at 4,070. The front toe is -20 because we want to have a wider trajectory on initiation, and we have a rear toe of +30, so after initiation our car can even itself out. We have a large -8 degrees of front camber so the car can grip at high angle, and a +0.5 rear camber so that when the car is squatting to get that grip, the car at the rear, the springs are lower, so then it's actually at a negative value. We have a front anti-roll bar at 150 kilonewtons per meter. We want the max front anti-roll bar to increase the grip of the rear axis. The rear anti-roll bar can be any value up to 150 kilonewtons per meter, but I just prefer it at 150 kilonewtons per meter because it feels stiff all around on the car and easier to control. We have a caster of 8. The reason why we have a caster of 8 is because the wheel or the tire is sitting flush with the road or track of the course to get as much grip as we can at large angles. We have an Ackerman of 68 degrees. This is what I use, but obviously you could use a higher value. This will make you go faster, essentially. And if you have a lower Ackerman value, I just don't think you should go below 35%. And of course, max steering angle. Okay, so just before I get into the wheels section and more in depth about the wheels, I'm going to share with you the CDS rules on rim diameter, width, and tire profile depending on the car's weight. So this car's weight is 1,532 kilograms, so it falls in between the 1,500 to 1,599 kilograms. Thus, we have to use, according to CDS rules, 20 inches and a maximum of 315 tire width. Okay, we are using a front tire pressure and rear tire pressure of 70 kilopascals, literally just to get as much grip as possible. If you start using anything more, your car will slide a lot more, and we don't want that. We just want to go fast. We are using 100 adhesion, not anything less or more. This is the most realistic for the drift cars, even though in the CarX Drift Racing 2 game on the mobile, it does say that 120 adhesion is literally drift tires. We are still using 100 adhesion. We're using a front wheel track of 10, and basically why we have such a large front wheel track is so that the car is more stable on its front half. And we have a rear base of -3, and this is basically just because it looks flush with the car. We don't want it to be more than 2 or 3, but it can be a lower value. We have front tire profile of 35s, and this is again according to CDS rules. Okay, now getting into the engine, we're using an engine tune-up of 5%, maximum torque, max rev limiter, turbocharger with 1.2 atmospheres. We are getting 944 brake horsepower and an acceleration of 0 to 100 at 4.35 seconds with top speed of 264 kilometers per hour. I find this maxed out. Everything helps a lot when we are running 315 tire width on a car that weighs 1.5 and above. Yeah. Okay, now getting into the transmission. We have the transmission type to sequential, so we can really fit into that CDS type vibe. We have a diff locking ratio of 0.75. The reason why we have it at 0.75 is because nobody in the Pro Drift series runs a fully locked or welded diff. Everyone's running an LSD. We have the diff locking ratio at 0.75 because at an angle we do not want to have a 1-to-1 ratio of power from the motor to the rear wheels. Instead, we want a ratio of 1:0.75 so that at an angle we can have reduced power to grip more on corners. We have a final drive of 4.55, a gear 1 at 2.9, a gear 2 at 1.7, a gear 3 at 1.4, a gear 4 at 1.23, a gear 5 at 1.13, a gear 6 at 1.02. These gear values are very important to the decimal, so please try and get them as close as possible. Okay, now coming into the brakes, we have 4,500 Newton meters of brake torque with this car, since it weighs 1.5 ton, and a front brake bias of 83%. You can do anything from 80 to 90%. I find that's the best. We have ABS on and launch control no. Okay, now we're gonna go and use the tandem drift function to do some test runs so I can really show you what it means for a car to grip in CDS, to show you what the pace is like with some of the pro drifters on 100 adhesion. It's pretty crazy, so hope you find this interesting. if especially you've been on 90 adhesion your entire life.
Yes.